He said, yep. All right, there he is.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
This one seems nice.
It's or sayings on page 7 on your even this one with an change of justice world.
Board, we're putting up the main agenda. We're looking to approve the agenda for today, April, by motion. Second. Last few minutes. Staff reports, fire bridge.
Good afternoon. My name's Terry Barrett. I'm the Baton Chief Fire Department. I am usually an East Side chief. I work over by the VA. I'm working overtime today, so you have it for today. So I have some idea. I know you guys have moved due to destruction or whatever, and that's why you're here today. So you can ask me some questions. If I don't know the answers, I'll be with the chief, so as long as they're signed, I'll try to get it for you. Roughly a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've been getting these. Okay, so you guys can see these online. I'm assuming they're putting them online, so you can take a look through it. I'll kind of hit some of the high points. The biggest high point is this month, no burning or just outside people burning their brush and seeds, stuff like that. Usually we don't allow it to a certain degree, especially when it becomes a nuisance to people. But they are allowed for the agriculture burns. It's mainly just for the ozone levels and everything to keep them down. So that's why we don't allow it in the city. We have, I don't know if they told you last time, we have on order 11 new engines, 1 new truck. That's gonna come between the end of this year and sometime by the end of 2028. So that should be some that are gonna replace some of our older rigs on the fleet. There was one fire in District 4. And I believe it was in the 3200 block of South Illinois. Right now, it's arson. It's termed as arson, so it's under investigation and going through. That's the only one that I saw that was investigation. That doesn't mean you didn't have your little ones. I like to tell them over on the other side of town that we have a lot of different fires that our crews can determine in stuff, the problem, and we don't call for the investigators to bring them in. Let's see. I can go over all the stuff for you guys probably. I would say overall with investigations, between February 20th and March 19th, they investigated 24 fires and the total loss was $902,000. But other than that, I really don't have a lot of info. I'm here mainly if you guys have any questions.
The fire bridge,
Yeah, it sounds like said park went real well. I know the county left it little after 5, I believe. Their units went back and fell one minute. All right, thank you.
That was fire pits include where, no, burn.
Burning,
Yeah.
you can burn fire pits, recreational, as long as they're not big. You know, as long as they're not people burning bonfires. Fire pit recreational, you're gonna be burning probably the 2 foot, like 2 foot area, 9 foot, 2 foot high. That's gonna be recreational. Or if you're cooking outside and you're cooking over it, that is allowed to, or if it's serving on you, that is allowed. But it's just more of if people are piling it up, and it's a lot of times more on the outskirts of the city where they pile up their brush, then they want to burn it. That's not allowed. All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Hi, everyone, I'm Tyler Callison, officer out of the Patrol Side Bureau. Not sure where Patrol West is at, when we communicate with someone who can't make it. Brought the statistics for everybody, if anybody would like to copy, I have them back here on this table. If you look month to month, is what I usually like to do since these meetings are month. You would think this month is terrible because everything's in red. Everything is up. If you look at burglaries, auto thefts, a lot of those can be attributed to once one burglary happens in a storage unit, multiple because one person gets one. Auto theft sometimes can be skewed. If you all over here, like on Seneca, for example, anytime someone doesn't return the vehicle on time. But where I did like to go and look at month to month, if I look at year to date compared to a whole year from now, we are. Technically, past year's time, we are down. So those statistics are back here if anybody has anything on that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I'll try to keep it. I also brought some of these brochures. Our department is starting a new thing called RTM, risk. RTM stands for risk terrain modeling. The kind of like highlights and notes of that, it is taking statistics from over the past years of crime, and they're analyzing how they can try to predict what crime will in the future. So they're using information like, you know, what's current at gas stations, hotels, bus stops, schools, and they're using this information to directly be focusing along the response. Each bureau is giving this a shot for 90 days, and each bureau has its own section to work in. For South, it doesn't affect that. For you're Kellogg, Broadway, Patrol West. Each one has a different target focus. For the post op bureau, the area is a high. So that is well. But if you want more information what these RTMs are, these brochures are back in here as well. So they can tell you some information. That touch on is it's that time of year the weather's warming up. There's an increase of motorcycles, mini bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, 3-wheelers, go karts, you name it, driving on the city streets and in the public parks. We have always tried to enforce this the best we can. I can be honest with the public in the situation that these are just driving complaints and they're infractions and not necessarily misdemeanors. Some are, some aren't, but obviously we, being our staffing situations, we try to focus on the active calls, disturbances, domestic violences, things along those lines. When we have free time or when we can put together special assignments, we do focus on working on these violations. This year, since the middle of February, we have already written a dozen citations for these types of violations, mainly along Seneca from MacArthur all the way. Actually, as we speak, I'm working assignment now to one of 6 officers doing. We are not installing any calls. We are focusing just strictly. So far, we've had 3 stops. So, know anybody? They're gonna be driven on the city street. They have to have a license. They have to be registered. Just like any other vehicle, you have to even a moped. They have a moped license. If they're driven in the city park, such as South Lakes, which there's trails around South Lakes in the pond, that's actually a misdemeanor. And we technically it's an arrest, but we won't take you down the road. They have to be driven on private property. That's something that we're trying to focus on. It's a high complaint that we get all the time across the city. We do our test on it, but also sugar companies. That's mainly what I have, but that's questions that I can answer.
First one, I think such was downtown. So everything.
Yes, the NCAA tournament, I mean, it didn't go off without a few hiccups, most of the public probably, don't know. We made a few arrests and everything. But actually nothing unruly that, I mean, so. It went well for the general public, and I think, we got a lot of compliments, I had a few sports writers that were down there that were covering, and they said they covered the Super Bowl as well, and they said the same thing, that they felt very safe. And they actually, there's always a difference of opinion, sometimes when we see a whole bunch of police, they don't like to see that, because it seems, you know, too militaristic or too enforced. And you have the other side to say, no, actually, I feel safe, like there's actually down here, something like that. You're here. I got a lot more compliments like that.
And I think on the side of the ladder, I was down there with my family, felt very safe, saw the presence, security. And my second question, I saw Mary Lucas out of Kansas City. They're gonna start changing laws for those side shows for those cars that start doing anything that's public.
Yes, we already have laws enacted for that, for those side shows, yes. So if you are spectating something along the lines of street racing or, you know, private park lots, motorcycles, these citations. Participate. Any questions for staff? Just,
I work downtown and I've noticed a lot of foot patrol going in and out of business buildings. Is that just like getting higher, or is there a reason for that, or
we're at downtown.
Rockland Building, near Interest Bank?
So yeah, that's part of the RTM zone, just on the edge, but it's just it's part of RTM, but also we are just a big, you know, patrol stop, we're trying to have a presence known the best we can. So we are making a conscious effort to have different units do different things, different days, whether it's doing foot patrol, bike patrol, like I'm doing bike patrol tomorrow, which is not something I normally get to do. I'm actually happy about it. But it's kind of on people pay, because you know, when I'm on a bike, then give or take a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, that's nothing in particular other than we're wanting our presence to be known.
So it's like a solid courthouse police everywhere, now all of a sudden the CPD. I'm just like, why the switch? So
we're trying to do our job.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Any chance of getting some extra enforcement on Kellogg traffic later in the accident?
So that would be traffic, and I guarantee they're already doing that. They work special assignments.
Well, I'm sitting on my back deck and I hear it clear up till like past 9 o'clock at 3. And I know that they're out there in the morning with motorcycles and stuff, but in the evening it just crazy on Kellogg. Like I say, at least 9 o'clock. That's fine with me.
And we have motors working up till 4 a.m. from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Public. Thank you very much. Steve Anderson, the branch manager at the Outland Branch Library. Just some
remodeled my into the Northeast Branch and Westlake Branch Libraries be open in March. Rockwell Branch closed. They will open sometime in the fall. While Rockwell is closed, the Angela Branch is going to be a full service library. It's going to be have its hours Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Except for their summers between Memorial and Labor Day, Sundays and closed. April 6th through the 12th is National Library Week to celebrate Wichita Public Library. We'll have merchandise available for purchase at the used bookstore located on the first floor of the Advanced Learning Library. Come support your library. I love reading, lifelong learning, community connection. Hope to see that. And on Friday, March 14th, Wichita Public Library kicked out the NEA Big Read with live performances. And from community members, it's like passages read aloud from this year's book, which is Sitting Creating. The view from my ordinary resilient disabled body, rejected closet. And for the next 6 weeks, so then 4 weeks, we're gonna have programs that, branches in regards to that stuff. And on Thursday, April 10th, 1:30, Public Works staff will host Worms Are Hungry 2 composting in Wichita, a composting workshop at the Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center. There are different ways you can reduce your food waste at home, determine waste, and free compost through your garden and other plants. Additionally, on Saturday, April 19th, the Advanced Learning Library will host a document talk, join us in the screening at Hot Times in the Heartland, a documentary about the impacts of climate change in Kansas, followed by discussions and Q&A with Ethan Kershaw, the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Wichita's Department of Public Works and Utilities. And on Monday, April 21st, at the Evergreen Community Center and Library, we'll host the Be Air Aware, monitoring air quality in Wichita, and a discussion on ways you can stay up to date on air quality. Lastly, another Safe Wichita Water session will be hosted at Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center on Monday, April 28th, on Liberty. They had it just last week at Evergreen Branch. On May 23rd, Wichita Public Library hosts community conversation, gun violence and community healing at the Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center. And then a panel of community leaders will discuss the effects of gun violence. For Alfred specific, the remodel has slowed down. We've had found some water leaks and some mold that will be perfectly getting taken care of it. Good news, the artist has started being painting the mural in the children's area. So, and then librarians are busy visiting elementary schools to talk with kids about the WPL summer reading programs. I think that's pretty much it. Any questions?
I live nearby. I was able to take a chance to use you guys as temporary space the other day to bring some paper. Love what you guys are doing with the place temporarily. Excited to see what comes through. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I'm doing that, the ICT read challenge. I appreciate that. I'm reading books I would have never read.
Right.
And I'm doing it on hobby.
Okay.
So, I know it's a 12-month deal, but I'm on my 10th book now.
Already, wow.
Yeah. So, when I'm working, when I'm driving, I'm just listening to books.
Okay, let them know that. Thank you.
Public.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the public agenda, a presentation from the Wichita Policy Transportation Plan 2015 or 2050, sorry. Manager of Transportation Community Area and Data at WAMPO, or Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. Into a little more detail. So what is WAMPO? It is a metropolitan planning organization, and they are required for urbanized areas over 50,000 people. The WAMPO region includes 22 cities, encompasses all of Central County, parts of Butler, and sections of Southern County. And we do long range and short range transportation planning of all different modes. We are in the middle of another public engagement round. Back with this planning process, we're always doing public engagement. So an NTP covers a planning horizon of at least 20 years and roughly every 5 years. It requires extensive research, planning, and also public engagement. You can see our timeline ahead here. So we did round 1 back in summer 2023, round 2 in 23 and 24, another one in summer 2024, and now we're in round 4, where we have worked together with all of our public engagement and all of our input, and we are presenting a draft document trying to collect public comments. So, next slide there. So NTP 2050, it's a long-range transportation plan looking at a horizon of 25 years.
And it looks at priorities like safety, reliable travel times, and managing environmental and economic impacts. Addressing equity in transportation and improving connectivity for all modes of travel. And then it also develops a list of projects to potentially utilize available funding in the future. So it is intended to identify transportation policies, strategies, projects for the future, project future demand for transportation infrastructure and services, and focus on the system levels, including like highways and streets, public transit, and infrastructure for bicycling, walking, and running. And all of this is done in 7 chapters and 14 appendices. I'm going to go pass it over to Nick Flanders.
Thank you, Peter.
Working.
The vision of MTP 2050 is to enhance connectivity in a way that supports equitable development of a safe, reliable, multimodal transportation network that enriches the quality of place within the WAMPO region. And this vision is served by the goals of making things safe and reliable, equitable and accessible, connected and multimodal, and engaging in environmental and financial stewardship. Here are the 14 appendices, which I will not go through at this time. And the 7 chapters are 1, plan, purpose, and development, self-explanatory. 2, regional trends, a data-driven chapter about the current state of things and where things are expected to go. Chapter 3, existing conditions, another data-driven chapter along much the same lines, but more focused on the transportation network. Chapter 4, system management, is about ways that transportation is managed in the region and ways that it could be managed. Chapter 5, system performance report. Here's where you'll find performance measures, data tracked over time. Again, we tell you progress towards various goals, including required federal performance measures that all MPOs are required to keep track of, and also some regional ones specific to this region. Chapter 6, financial planning. And this chapter is all about showing that the plan is fiscally constrained, meaning it does not call for more spending than the amount of revenue that is expected during the same period out to 2050. And finally, chapter 7, project selection and list. The main thing here is this is where you will find the project list, a list of specific projects around the region gathered from our various member jurisdictions that by being in this list are necessarily consistent with the MTP and therefore can qualify to get into our short range transportation improvement program and be considered for funding opportunities going forward. I know there are also in here some category projects, we call them, for projects that get started on a shorter time frame than say the North Junction. And therefore, by having their categories in here, projects that fit those categories can qualify for funding and short range planning. On this basis, those would be bridge projects, public transit projects, bicycle and pedestrian improvements, traffic flow and safety improvements, and intelligent transportation system projects. Now, finally, this is actually the very last day of our 30-day public comment period. We have all of the draft chapters and appendices online, and you have a link to them on the paper around the table, and we have some executive summaries in the back table. So all 7 chapters, all 14 appendices, and a 20-page executive summary that includes a lot of maps, tables, and charts, so it really isn't 20 full pages of text. All that is available online, and the executive summary is translated into Spanish and Vietnamese. And please review that at your first opportunity, as today is the last day of public comment. Sorry, you couldn't get to your meeting last month because since the first Monday of the month and 30 days ago was after your last meeting, so that's just the way it worked out. You can comment directly on the webpage. We have a field that you can just put it in and send it to us. It is optional to give your name or email address. You don't have to give us that. You just put it in the comment. And you can also give us comments by email to wampo@wampo.org. That should be easy to remember. So again, please get you and everyone you know, everyone that they know, and so on and so forth. And please review and comment and really ASAP. So thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, just one, and a comment. I remember you guys coming here to a previous meeting, appreciate the work you guys are doing for the city. I guess my main question is, how much of the projects that you guys are working on here for the city are federally funded, and how much is that going to be affected with what's going on federally with the cuts?
For federal funds, there's sub-allocated and non-sub-allocated federal funding. The non-sub-allocated federal funding is mostly on KDOT projects, but then also there's federal funding for public transit. But what would be of most significance to the cities and county governments mostly would be the Wampo sub-allocated federal funding. This is funding that the state was required to sub-allocate to us from their federal allocation to the NPOs, rather the transportation management agencies, which in Kansas is only here and Kansas City. And we go into those transportation management areas, those NPOs, certain funds that they award to specific local projects. In the past, that's been around $10 to $15 million per year of those funds. That would be mostly surface transportation block grant, which can be used on just about anything, congestion mitigation and air quality, which the intended use is what the name implies. But as of right now, because our area is in attainment for air quality, we are allowed to use it for all the same purposes as surface transportation block grant. Transportation alternatives, which is mostly for bicycle and pedestrian related projects. And the carbon reduction program, which as the name implies, is for projects that are meant to reduce emissions of carbon dioxide from transportation. Projects that qualify for transportation alternatives or congestion mitigation and air quality generally also qualify for that one. Anyway, at 10 to 15 million now, I don't know what the next 5-year transportation bill will say, because the current one, the bipartisan infrastructure law, covers federal fiscal years 2022 through 2026. I don't know what they'll say for 27 through 31. So we can just guess at that point. If I could guess that kind of thing, and wow, I'd be off to Washington.
So it's possible to expect that some of this separate chapters might be affecting. Possibly.
We're not, right, keep in mind the projects in the project list in this FTT, projects that qualify are consistent with the plan and qualify to be considered for funding. They will not necessarily all go forward, but by having them in there, they are ready to proceed if there is the opportunity.
So they're not locked in.
They are not locked in. The projects in that list are not locked in. It's not that those projects will definitely happen. Sorry, not.
I was just gonna follow up basically on that point. I think that's kind of what you're asking. Then we work with ADOT and our FHWA representative every on any changes that have come through. As of right now, federal funding is being obligated as per our routine basis as was prior, but we just go day by day. Going what we know.
No, thank you.
And,
I'm gonna ask this.
And,
You also this one-
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes,
Are there any local tax dollars in this project?
each project that is listed in the MTP has an estimated project cost associated with it. In some cases, that can wind up being entirely with this, for example, the city of Wichita put in every project in its CIP into this plan. And so most of those would be with the local dollars only, but even when a project gets federal money, with almost always federal funds require that 20% of the cost minimum be covered by non-federal sources, usually the respective local government.
Okay, so then along those lines, is everything you've been proposing here in the current budget, or is this new spending?
By budget, you mean? This
In
is
there.
not a level, this is the planning level.
So I guess where I'm
John,
going with this is
John,
we'll-
I'll answer that question.
Thank
If
you.
it's in the WAMPO outlines, it's projected in the CIP for the next 10 years. It doesn't mean it's budgeted in 2025 necessarily, but it could be on the list for the CIP projects over the next 10 years.
but it would also be an opportunity for cuts since we're facing budget shortfalls.
Correct. Yeah. The CIP, yes, we're facing shortfalls in the GO budget. We're not facing shortfalls in CIP necessarily. Now you could take a percent from the mill for CIP and divert it to the GO. And so you could mitigate some of a looming deficit by moving funds to the GO, but it's from the CIP. The GO is where we're facing the deficit.
Yep. Last question, if you don't mind. I'm just curious if you had any idea how much of has been spent on the environmental justice nonsense.
That might be a speculative question, John, but you and I can follow up in another conversation.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate the work you guys do. I'm gonna, any questions from staff? Public? Lisa, you guys. All right, moving on to all agenda items. If there's anyone present that will not request or sign up to be on the public agenda, who's here to speak now? May do so now. Is anyone here, public? There's no one who wants to new business. Okay.
Nothing yet. Let's go to the next point.
Move on to new business item number 7, COA 23-5-003. Inspiration Church.
We're here to discuss con 2025-00039. Additional use for accessory apartment. Properties on SF5, They 0.47 acre property and is generally located on B5 south of the district. And then doing feet on 34th Street South. At 34th County South Division. The subject site is currently developed with a roughly 1,600 square foot single family residential dwelling unit for the street. That's dwelling unit north of the north side of the property. According to the site, the accessory apartment will. West Park. And just over. Detached accessory structures do have a minimum setback of 5 feet from the rear property line and. Yes. You can see that the character of the neighborhood is not low density residential
It's kind of surrounded by the SF5 single family district with single family residences all around it. And there are no other accessory apartments in the immediate area. A little bit of case history, the subject site was platted as the Erickson Edition in 1976, and in 1963, there were a couple of variances. One was for accepting off-street parking for the adjacent church. That should. Subject site does have access to South Elizabeth Street, two-way local street, and sidewalks, municipal services do serve the site, and Wichita Transit stop 1 block east of the subject site. The proposed use, if we go to the future roadmap, which we next one down. Yep, right there, thank you. It's in conformance with the community investments plan. The 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map identifies the site as residential, which the plan defines as areas that reflect full diversity, residential development densities, and types typically found in a large urban municipality. So we do believe that an accessory apartment is appropriate for this category. We can scroll to the site pics. So this is looking east towards the site. This is looking east towards the side of the proposed structure. Looking north away, looking south away from the site. I have a couple more. Looks like one more. This is looking west across the street from the site. And staff based these off the golden factors recommends that the conditional use be approved, subject to the conditions listed in the report. And with that, I can stand for questions.
If I'm reading this right, is the church just trying to go to the party or something?
Yes, so the church, if you look and see,
Like just dumb it down.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's the church is actually, if we can go back to the aerial. One more. So right here, this is where the church is. They happen to own this property as well. It's being used as a residence. And so in order to have another residence, they have to get this accessory apartment. Basically an additional dwelling unit, ADU, you might have heard. So they would have 2 residences on that one parcel, but the church itself just owns the property. This is the church proper, so. I don't believe they have any. I don't know if that is here.
Any questions on the staff? Public? Is there a motion to move? Is there a motion to put based on the time of the conditions? Second my. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed? Second.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9.
I believe so. I'll let you know if
John.
Yeah, I was going to offer a motion to approve.
You, John. Moving on. Item number 7, COE 2025-00030. That's right, so it's everything. On to number 8, CUP 2025-0006.
Yep, thank you again, Brad, over Legion PD. The time we are testing page CUP 2025-00006. For this case, applicant is requesting a minor amendment to the viewing center, CUP, GP 151. Subject size is 1.638 size and GC general commercial district. Generally located on the south side of West Taft Avenue, and 1/4 mile east of Southwood Road.
6803 West Taft Avenue. The applicant is actually requesting two things. One, to permit warehouse self-service storage as a permitted use on proposed parcel 3D. So with a waiver of regulation number 17, I'll get into all of this in a minute. And then to alter the architectural controls for proposed parcel 3D set forth in the general provisions for parcel 3D. So if we can scroll down all the way to the site plan, and then kind of explain the first portion of it, and I'm back into the. Yep. So right now, all of this is parcel 3. And they are requesting to amend the parcel to basically cut it more or less in half and create parcel 3D. And that's where they're wanting to permit the warehouse self-service storage. So having said that, with parcel 3A, a whole list of uses are allowed that are listed in the staff report. There's a whole list that are excluded from the parcel, and then getting back into what they're requesting that warehouse self-service storage is permitted on the proposed 3D. There are architectural controls for parcel 3A. They state that all buildings on the parcel shall share uniform architectural character, color, texture, and the same predominant exterior building. Building walls and roof must have predominant colors, including colors, and the exterior building material on both sides, the east sides of the easternmost building, and on the western side of the westernmost building. So what that basically means is, as it stands with parcel 3A, anything on the north, anything on this side facing that way, and anything on this side facing this way should not have the metal as a building material. Anything facing, so like they've got two buildings here, anything facing in between is okay to have metal or facing south. So that's kind of explaining that. Applicant's proposing is that metal be allowed as a predominant building material. Or it's 30%. I think they've upped it to 50% of the facade being masonry or other similar building materials on all facades for the proposed parcel 3D. Staff is recommending this request be denied because this is an existing requirement for which current buildings have been built. With when constructed across the street from residential uses. Staff is recommending that the north, so facing north here, and the easternmost parcel would be facing parcel 4, be to the architectural controls that are stated for the current parcel A. So basically nothing changed. This would prohibit the metal being used on those sides, and it would maintain the existing architectural character along West Taft Avenue across from the residential. Existing screening requirement for parcel 3A requires a screening wall along West Taft Avenue, so we would have to build a screening wall along this section near Taft. But the applicant intends to have the rear of the proposed storage building face that Taft Avenue, so that all overhead doors are internal to that site. So the applicant is proposing that the screening wall not be required on that proposed parcel. And staff is comfortable recommending that a screening wall shall not be required, so long as the landscape buffer that's been applied to the current developed portion parcel 3A along West Taft Avenue is mirrored on the proposed parcel 3D. So this got a lot of moving parts, but if we can scroll down to some of the actually some of the site pictures. I find it close, right? Yeah, I think. So just scroll down a little bit more.
You can kind of see that they've got some cedars planted along West Taft Avenue where parcel 3A has already been developed. We're saying that as long as they kept that landscaping buffer going along the proposed parcel 3D, and which is at 1.5 times the required landscape code, and with those cedars, we're fine with no screening. So that's something that we're okay with. Now, the last thing is that warehouse self-service storage, it's not subject to supplementary use regulations typically. When it's in the applicant proposing the site to be subject to those regulations. There's a whole list of regulations that they are, they're acceptable to adhering to, but they are asking to weigh regulation number 17, which requires that resident manager shall be on the site, shall be responsible for maintaining the operation of the facility on the system. All of those regulations are attached to the report. Staff is fine with doing that, so use as well. So, as far as the whole CUP is concerned, there are several standards that are in place. Landscaping not referenced except for the 10-foot landscape strip along West Taft Avenue, and staff again does recommend that the applicant be required to landscape that 10-foot strip with evergreen trees 1.5 times the required amount of the which all landscape code, and that parking lot shall also require a minimum of 1 shade tree or 2 ornamental trees for every 20 parking spaces. That's specifically for the CUP. Signage shall be according to the Wichita sign code, and parking is not referenced in the CUP, so we just would have it be in accordance with section 4 of the zone code. As far as the nearby properties, if you can go to the zoning map. One more right there. You can see that to the north across West Taft Avenue, there's zone SF5 with single family dwellings. Property to the east is zone GC, and it's still within that CUP district. It's developed with general retail. Property to the south is zone GC, is also in the CUP. It's developed with a large strip mall, and property to the west also zone GC. Also within that DP 151 and is developed as general retail. So case history in 1993, the property was platted as the Dugan Center Second Edition. 1986, the Dugan Center CUP 1-3 as an adjustment, and in 2003, an amendment parcel creating the next gross floor area, maximum number of buildings, reduce the setback on Taft Avenue from 100 feet to 35 feet, and change the permitted uses was approved with sufficient service and staff report. The subject site has access to West Taft Avenue, and it's for service site, and Wichita Transit does provide a regular bus service on West Taft Avenue. The requested zone changes in conformance with the community investments plan. Map identifies the area. Believe that with the special use regulation and conditions of approval, they're designed to mitigate any detrimental effects to neighboring properties. However, the removal of architectural controls could be detrimental to the overall aesthetic. It is also with the Wichita Places plan, which encourages infill, redevelopment that is conducive to the environment, which is encouraging, which is occurring. And we believe that this portion of parcel 3A, those 3B has been underdeveloped for some time, and this would be with info. So based on everything, staff does recommend that the amendment be approved, as well as the waiver of supplementary use regulation 17. Additions listed in the report. We do recommend that the architectural roles remain as such, not be denied or not be approved. I can tell you that emergency did hear this case, and they basically took staff's recommendation to approve, but to keep the architectural controls in place. And with that, I can, well, we can go through site photos. So this is looking across West Taft Avenue and to the site. This is looking down the site. There's Dollar General there at the end. This is looking west into what is part of parcel 3A. And then this is looking north into the single family residence. This is a little bit closer up version of looking east away at the Dollar General. This is looking south into the large strip mall area, and then this is another south facing view. I think that might be it. So now I can stand for any question.
Does it require a brick fence in front of this place?
We're okay with allowing that not to
If
be.
you lived across the street from there in those $300,000 houses, would you be okay with that?
I am letting you know what our department,
I didn't think so.
what our department is done.
Agent President,
Yes.
is this gonna be one of those matches that out for this building?
No, this is gonna be. More like the man cave type. Just for everybody, there's a lot of people are developing now, man cave type storage units.
How many units are we expecting to have?
Not sure, there'll be 4 total buildings, they'll. Like 2 facing south away from Taft and then 2 facing north, and so I'm not sure exactly how many units there'll be. Traffic will be minimal at it, but
The traffic's pretty high there on the weekend.
on Taft.
Yeah. Traffic's pretty high there.
Well, any type of development's gonna have traffic no matter what.
Yeah, I'm just.
Um,
I think my concern is just more of wanting to amend the architecture's pieces of it. If everyone in that area has already conformed to it, everyone's already conformed to it. Basically,
yeah, but the reason we ask is if you look at the Dollar General, this is all metal up here. So we originally asked for 30% being metal, then we decided 50 to kind of give a little bit. This is all metal, and if you'll go up one more page, the entire east side of this building is metal. So we're technically in line with it, but we understand staff's concerns, and that's not going to be a make or break thing for me. I'm not going to sit here and fight for it. We're willing to do like a stucco type finish on the north side and the east side. As staff has recommended. We just don't get it if you don't ask, so we asked if we could do that. And it kind of answered the other question. We haven't had any neighbors from the $300,000 houses complain yet, so I don't know. Yeah, because they got letters saying that we're doing this, so they have been asked. They have not complained. And we're offering 1.5 time landscaping to make it look a little bit better than it would normally have to. So we are trying to mitigate that.
I have a quick question to staff, just for everybody else. Have we had anybody file formal claims?
So as of right now, we have not, in that protest period ends at 5 o'clock on Thursday. Now, sometimes the city clerk gets them and we don't get them until closer to that time period. But we usually when the city clerk gets protest petitions, they kind of trickle them down to us within days of getting them. So the way I would answer that is right now we haven't, but there is still a few more days left for this period.
Brooke, have we had anybody reach out to URI?
I did have someone reach out to me who was concerned about over industrializing the houses across the street, kind of creating a zone change that could open things up to more heavy industrial uses. I don't, they said they'd read the report and get back to me, and they haven't.
What building is?
What building?
Which old building? That. It's the vacant space, Your building's been not business. Okay. It's pretty much always vacant right here, so right here you have, I think Best Buy's gone. Yeah, that's where I live. Best Buy was, so this lot's been vacant since the CUP, so we're trying to upgrade, set the new development, just put something in. Okay, I didn't just for space building. Right, okay, now, I mean, in my opinion, if you were building something new, and with what you just showed with those other buildings having those metal pieces already there, you get a lot taller. Easier.
Sorry.
So this whole area right here, we're this bit right here where it is vacant. So these department stores, they'll stay the same, nothing's changing there, the Dollar General's fine. This will be a vacant lot still, but we're gonna develop this one.
I know, I'm not sure on the spot, I know we had, is this the case you were here for, or a different case? Okay, is anybody here for this one?
Dalton?
Yeah. I don't mind amending.
That was.
Oh, sorry, John, yeah, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, I think Alex had a comment.
Well, I mean, I would like to amend it to allow them to have the 30% metal sheeting, given what I saw on what the agent showed. I thought it was a replacement of a current building, but seeing that it's a new construction, I mean, that changed my opinion on it. But I thought it was amended to allow to let them build it as with the metaling finishing. I don't know, construction. So amending to remove number 3 in the recommended action. If anyone's opposed, please let me know. Motion to approve with removing number 3 from the recommended action. Your motion.
Question, if the implications of removing number 3, do we open ourselves up to anything on fire?
We do, because we don't put a percentage on it, we just.
That-
open it. And so at that time, they could have no all fire.
Would the property owner want number 3 removed?
In an ideal world, yes, but again, we wouldn't be willing to do 30 or 50, even up to 50%, half and half, so you have a stucco with metal both.
If the property owner wants number 3 removed, I second that motion.
So what you could do is amend that condition to say that the sides could have up to 50% metal or 30% metal instead of wiping the condition out. Yeah, so you could amend that condition instead of saying we just strike it all.
Can we just amend it to be 30% to what the other similar buildings are? I mean, motion to approve to amend number 3 to be 30% metal as similar to other buildings. I think that's right. As similar to the other surrounding areas, buildings.
There's one problem in stucco. And most people don't realize woodpecker's like it.
That's up to the property owner. Because I think avoids this, the woodpecker thing. I don't know.
I can also do, I got a friend that got a $600,000 up in a reflection rate that the woodpeckers have gone through the whole front of the house has to be redone. It's all full of holes.
Stuff neighborhoods around there from trees from the.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve to amend number 3 to leave the metal finishing at 30%?
Second.
Wale, second, John. All in
Yep.
favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We have one. Two. Oh, two, sorry. It's such a wide. Moving on to new item number 9, CP 2025-0008 in zone 2025-0004.
All right, this is the big one, once again, right over the, maybe, yes, we are still. 5-000008 in zone 5-0000. There's a lot going on, some work, so, please be patient with me, let's try to go through it all. We're requesting 2 items. A major amendment to the Pinewood Square CUP 71 to allow several additional uses in parts of 1, 10, and 11 out. And I don't think that I gave this, I apologize for that. But if you guys want to kind of pass this around, I should have made more copies, and I apologize, but this is kind of showing what parcels are what as you are going through this report. Because it is confusing. If you look at these squiggly lines, they don't make much sense. But they are wanting to allow those additional uses to those parcels. And then also to rezone parcels 1, 10, and 11 from LC limited commercial to LI limited industrial district. Site is 47.35 acres in size, is on LC. And it's generally located north of West Kellogg Drive and west of South Crazy Street. Or south of West Maple Street, well, on 4600 West Kellogg Drive. So the applicants are requesting a zone change to allow for redevelopment of the southern side of the manufacturing business on those parcels. The amendment was only affects the permitted uses on those parcels. They are not proposing to change any of the development standards established by the DP 71. Therefore, standards such as maximum building coverage, gross floor area, maximum number of buildings, setbacks would not change. The requests are approved. The limited and general manufacturing research services, outdoor storage, which is subject to supplementary use regulations. Vehicle storage yard, warehousing, welding shop, wholesaler business services. And the definitions of those are all added as an attachment to the report. Staff does recommend limiting the freight terminals to the existing loading docks within parcels 10 and 11. And then staff also recommends that outdoor storage and vehicle storage yards on parcels 10 and 11 be limited to locations 205 feet south of the north property line off of Maple Street. So what that means is, if you can scroll down to the site. Yeah, so this is parcel 2 right here. And what we're requesting is that any outdoor storage basically run along this property line of parcel 2 into parcel 10, and then also across into parcel 11. So one of the supplementary use regulations states that outdoor storage has to be 150 feet off of any single family residential. So this is on single family residential. So on this side and this side, they would have to be 150 feet off from the. So, well, that makes sense. Kind of across. But once they get to here, they have to kind of come off the property. Staff does recommend that the landscaping adhere to the current landscape plan on file, which was approved on February 8th, 1979. And we actually have that as an attachment too, if you can scroll down one. Yep, so you can see that there were quite a few trees and shrubs and bushes and everything. This is on West Maple. So you scroll down, it continues on West Maple and then goes to the Catholic Church property. Quite a few landscaping things were required over time. Things have died, been removed, not been replaced, not been kept up. We are requesting that that any vegetation that has died or is dying or has been removed from missing, this landscape plan be adhered to, so that we would restore that landscape buffer that was supposed to be there. If we can go to the zoning map, kind of give you a rough idea of what's around. It's very irregular shape, but basically to the north, across West Maple, we have properties that are zoned SF5, single family, NR, neighborhood retail, and LC. They're developed as single family dwellings, strip commercial centers. Properties to the east are zoned SF5 and LC. They are also within the E71. LI, which is across South Tracy Street, and GC general commercial. Those properties are called church and school, a department store, print shop, and bank. And then properties to the south are zoned LC. They're also within the same CUP and LI, and are developed with a hotel, credit union, a local office training center, and medical services. And then properties to the west is zoned LC. Is within BP 71 and it's developed as a department store, and then further. So the case history is that on May 10th, 1973, it was zone change from AA one family to being multi-family, which was recommended for denial by the MAPC and wrong by the applicant. Within a year later, they came back with the zone change to light industrial, which was approved by the city council, subject to fighting for the property. The applicant subsequently agreed with the request and requested the zone change from AA one family to LC limited commercial. Did them budget in 1978 on the property was platted Square Edition. In 1975, the Townwest Square CUP was originally adopted. And then on September 11th, 2008, an amendment allowing tavern and drinking establishment in a nightclub in the city in parcel 1 was approved. Then in 2013, an amendment was approved that permitted temporary operations. Several other amendments to the CUP that did not affect the parcels in question. Subject site has access to West Maple Street. I'm not going to go through all the different types of things there. West Maple Street, South Tracy Street, West Kellogg Drive, South Anna Avenue, and South Westdale Drive. It also does have access fairly nearby to 400 and 235. All the municipal services such as water and sewer. Bus service. Bring the one down to the future growth map. The proposed amendment is the performance the community investments plan where the future growth concept map identifies the area that the site is located to be appropriate. Visual employment heights. And then we believe Town West Mall with emphasis on manufacturing is appropriate use for the subject site. Size and scope of the existing buildings and certain the vast majority of activity will take place inside. This proposed uses would seem to be enough of a barrier in mitigating the detrimental effects around the properties and the supplementary use regulations. And the replacement of the required landscaping. And the conditions are also designed to mitigate any negative effects to properties. So in conformance with the Richland People Plan, which encourages infill, redevelopment that's contextual to the environment. And so we do live with LI zoning is immediately to the east of the subject site, given the location of factory highway. Infrastructure that goes industrial uses architectural, textual. It's a lot of them, and they're kind of scattered, but basically we all know the site, we're looking at them all in various degrees from various directions. And then we,
Because it's literally the entire mall, right?
well, it's not, and I will kind of pull that little sheet I got up
Yeah.
and kind of point out exactly where it is, but now we're looking away from the law, different types of businesses, interstate, interchange, all that. And so across the street of West Maple with the houses. And then I think we've got like a picture of the school and the church. Print shop on the east. So that's that. We really did not receive any public comments. We did get a couple of questions. But once I answered the questions, they seemed to be fine with what was being requested. And the MAPC did recommend approval for staff recommendation. So staff does recommend the zone change and the amendment be approved following, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. Now, let me just, before I stand for any questions, what was that? Probably for the parcels, yeah. So,
I guess to make it easier, what pieces of the mall are left out?
yeah, so may not be the easiest thing to see, but you basically have the old bits
Left out.
left out. You have I think it's the Dillard's clearance stores, the Penny's department store, and then the old Sears NCI is within parcel 10, but as I understand it, it's condoed out, and they're not doing anything with that portion of the property, but everything that's kind of within the mall itself proper is going to be changing zoning, or could be, and then allowed to have those uses. Now, one other aspect of this, just to clarify, we can go back to the aerial. Thank you, Brooke. And one more. So in the course of going through this report, we got contacted by the local commerce and pipe fitters union, which owns this building. I've only been here for about a year and a half, so I think it may have been Toys R Us. And they also own this building right here. And they just recently acquired everything kind of south of the mall drive here, and then a small strip of parking lot right here, which is all in parcel 1. But we talked to them and they were fine with the request, and so they actually signed their name to the application. So they're a part of the application now. And they might at some point come back to amend to remove themselves from the CP, but right now they're part of it and they're fine with what's being requested. So having said all of that, I can stand for any questions, and the agent is also for that.
Hey, come on down. Then just one question looking,
For the record, sorry, I'm based on the Boston company. Sorry.
very fine. Just looking at the vehicle storage yard, definition. See 73 consecutive hours. But I don't see a note for like the max capacity of cars, because that's a big lot out there. I guess I'm viewing it in the sense of the people who live in that neighborhood who may see a large amount of cars at some point, because I don't see a cap on it. And I don't see anything in the landscaping that says you're gonna build a wall to block the neighborhood or driver passers from viewing it. I guess I'm seeing that two things can happen at the same time. There can be a large amount of vehicles that can be left. 72 hours can pass quickly, but you just say how many can you fill up in that time?
Well, the outdoor storage, vehicle storage would be an accessory use to one of the tenants that's actually gonna be inside of it. So that's a question to answer, but I wouldn't think it would be a nonstop or an all the time, having anything that would affect the neighbors and so to piggyback up what Brad said, it is the Dick's Dealers closeout their clearance and the J.C. Penney that's not in this, so at this current time. We are asking for a zone change to LI in that, but. And that's primarily to allow just for more use, so we're trying to have. Any number of tenants with any number of, a lot of the current, or not a lot, I think some of the current tenants in the mall will be staying. But this is to open up an opportunity to have not only the limited commercial uses that it allows now, but to also have some manufacturing uses, hopefully. As manufacturing possibly builds up, not only in this area, but across the country. I don't know what I could add to what Brad said, other than, we're company that takes the lab, not the lab, but just unused structures and turns them into multi-tenant uses to allow for more development. This is a big project with a big price tag on it for the developers to redevelop, and we're really looking forward to revitalizing the building that, in all honesty, has had a lot of blight in the last little bit, so we're looking forward to it.
I got some questions about the freight terminal. Access to town west has always been limited, not like town east. And when you're coming out, there's people coming around down, I get to Tracy and then get on to Kellogg if you want to go west.
Right.
Well, it's kind of hard to get in there now with people trying to get off and go north on 235. When you start putting trucks in there, they're going slow on a single lane. And people are trying to get onto 135. I think it's traffic hazard. I would eliminate the freight terminal.
Well, the rationale behind freight terminal would be very similar to an accessory to a use. I mean, you have to have product coming in and going out. And well, yeah, the mall as it is, as it was, and it's vibrant. There was a lot of truck traffic through there to deliver goods and whatnot. It's gonna add a little bit, and you don't really get the traffic aspect of it until you have the use. So if at some point traffic is these trucks are adding a lot of traffic to the area, something could get done, but you don't know until you figure out what it is. But I understand what you say.
It's happy if you're trying to get down there now, and then you go over there and you got the other one coming off 235 westbound.
Yeah, and the reason that the freight terminal, again, is added, it's just added, we added all the limited industrial uses, but that one is specific to the fact that this is close to so many major highways and interstates, and just seems like a great place.
Dalton, may I?
842, where they're from.
John?
I would just like to say I would venture to guess the people in that room, probably none of us have been inside Town West other than the developers in years. I think the current building is, its only current function is as a movie set for a dystopian zombie apocalypse film. And I'm thrilled to death to hear that somebody is coming in to develop it. I think these guys are visionary, and I'm glad to hear somebody's going to do something with it. With that, I make a motion that we approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. John, were you in favor or opposed? You're in favor, right?
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Okay, just want to confirm, we had two opposed. So. Two opposed.
Who was the second?
Wally and Allen.
On to new business item number 10, PON 2025-0035.
Yes, once again, for the last time, Brad Overly, MFPD, we already put them behind 25, five, the very thing we did the first. Case we heard, and that the applicant is requesting conditional use to allow an accessory apartment on properties on SF five, in residential. A 2.07 acre property located at 7 West Clark Road. The subject site is currently developed with a single family residential dwelling, detached garage and storage shed. The applicant is requesting this detached dwelling unit with an attached garage for an family. The subject site has had a legal non-conforming accessory apartment, meaning that it's 20s, for zoning code is applicable, probably before it was even in the city. That was on the property. Just so you guys know, a dwelling unit is defined as a building or portion of a building that contains living facilities, that provides provisions for sleeping, cooking, eating, and sanitation. In order for a dwelling unit to not, in order for a structure to not be a dwelling unit, it has to not have one of those. So, the applicant has removed the ability to cook food. In this case, it's oven/range, essentially removing the kitchen from the structure. So therefore, it's no longer considered a dwelling unit. Only used as kind of a craft shop for them. The applicant intends to construct a new accessory structure that will be roughly 40 by 40 the living area, and then 40 by 40 with the attached garage. Want to scroll down to the site plan. You should get the first gap. Okay, so here's where that original accessory structure was, their accessory apartment. And this is where they're planning to build the new one with a living space and garage behind it. Character of the neighborhood is low density residential and also industrial. Property to the north is PUD number 66, which permits industrial uses and is developed right now as agricultural uses. And split down, yeah, I think the zone right there. Property to the east is zoned SF5 and is developed with a single family dwelling. Property to the south across West MacArthur Road is zoned SF5 and is on. And then property to the west is also zoned SF5 and developed with a single family. Site is currently unplatted and platting will not be required for the proposed use, and there are no other zoning cases. Access to West MacArthur Road, with all municipal services available, and Wichita Transit does not serve the subject site. We can go to the future growth map. It is in conformance with the community investments plan, but the future growth map identifies the site as residential. Which again describes all the densities types typically found in large urban municipalities. So an accessory apartment is appropriate for this site. We go to the site pics. Looking north towards the site of the proposed accessory structures. This is the old accessory apartment that is now just kind of a craft room. This is looking south away from the site, across West MacArthur. This is looking west down with West MacArthur, and this is looking east down West MacArthur. So staff does recommend the conditional use be approved subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. I do want to point out that the first one is that previous legal non-conforming accessory apartment shall not be used as a dwelling unit, nor shall it be constructed or equipped so as to be considered as a dwelling unit. So it should not be used in any way, shape, or form as a dwelling unit from here on. Once the new accessory apartment is is in place.
Public. Motion to approve based upon the recommended conditions, like question. Second. Okay, Brian. Opposed? And sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Down.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm
Glad I caught you.
doing one more.
Favor.
Do you need a report? I
You. One more. So this is a zone change from TF3 to DC General Commercial. Permitted warehouse, self-service storage, and permitted lots 4 and 5, from the protected overlay, 335. This is a 2.93 acre property that is located on the west side of North 135th Street West, and within 500 feet north of West Catalog Drive. So this is again a situation where we're looking at having kind of main phase and units to rent for business or office. The applicant stated that no automotive businesses would be allowed. These properties are within the jurisdiction of PO 335. That states that a homeowners association shall be created for the property zone SF5 prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. These 2 properties are requesting to be removed from that PO because they're currently zoned TF3 and would not be affected by that PO. It's a little bit of a weird PO, to be honest with you. So once again, warehouse storage facilities are subject to those supplementary use regulations. And no, there would be a few changes to the development standards, which are listed here as well. Scroll down. We would have compatibility setback and height standards because it does abut SF5 to the north. And it also abuts TF3 on the west property line, which is owned by the same property owner. So landscaping would be required for the code, including a landscape street yard along North 135th. And a landscape buffer and solid screening would be required along the north and west property lines. According to the platted 25-foot drainage and utility easement and a 45-foot access easement that exists along the north portion of the property. So if solid screening and landscape cannot be achieved within those easements, we can look at a submitted alternative landscape plan and approve that. So, I think you can go down to the zoning code or the zoning.
Okay.
We'll have to kind of go back. Okay, so, property to the north is, zone SF5. It is developed with a single family residence and a, accessory apartment that is, part of conditional use 452 from almost 30 years ago. Properties across the street. You've got this one little section that's just GC and not part of this CUP DP 344. It is developed with general retail, a paint store, but then you've also got the other portions of CUP DP 344 that are also to the east in zone GC. Properties to the south are GC and developed with a church. And then these properties to the west are TF3. They are undeveloped and kind of a part of this whole lot area, but we're only talking about these 2 parcels right here. Okay, so if you can scroll back up. I'll let you know. Yeah, right there. So case history, August 33rd or 33rd. I'll have to change that. I'm guessing it was August 3rd, 2022. The subject site was platted as part of the 80s edition. And in 2018, a majority of the property was the zone change from SF5 to TF3 with that PO, which will require a homeowner association for that part that is still SF5. Property has access to West 135th Street. City water is located in the 135th Street north right of way, but city sewer would likely need to be extended as no sewer mains really in close proximity to the subject site. And then Wichita Transit is not served subject site. The zone change is in conformance with the community investments plan, which identifies the areas associated with residential and employment mix. We define that as areas of land that are likely to be developed or redeveloped with existing boundary and expenditure. Residential housing types within this area likely will be higher density. Employment uses likely will be will have limited negative impacts associated with noise, hazardous emissions, visual light, and odor. And so with this site being bounded by the GC district to the south and east, allowing that site and should not negatively affect the surrounding properties. We have not received any public comment on this, and so we can scroll down to the site pictures. So this is looking west into the property. This is kind of looking northwest into that single family 5, very large residential lot. This is looking north away from the site, down on 35th. This is looking northeast away from the site, where open spaces. Scroll down. This is looking east away at the paint shop. This is looking southeast towards the CUP that's not been developed yet. And then this is looking south towards 54,400. And with that, we do recommend approval of the request. And I can stand for any questions.
There is no public comment.
Obviously, we're gonna cover it here.
Okay, questions from staff or what sort of staff? Questions from staff?
And nothing from that church either?
Nothing.
Unbelievable. Did you sit notice that?
Fortunately.
Yep, we spoke it over there.
Sorry.
Unbelievable.
There's questions, comments from staff. We on to public comment, you're limited to 7 minutes. If you could please rise and just state the area you live in.
And my name is Kimberly Gonzalez. I live at 1521 South Auburn North Court. It's actually just kind of as it's turned into our neighborhood.
You can see it.
Yeah, you can see it like from our cul-de-sac. You can kind of see where that tree line is at. So my questions and concerns is how will this affect our neighborhood? Because whenever I called, because I did call the city because I got the number from the deal. They told me that they would call me back once they let me, once they kind of figured out what it was supposed to be, because it was going to be flex storage. I had not received a letter. I didn't have any other notifications about it. I was at my HOA office last Thursday. They were unaware of everything they developed down here. So there's already a like shipping container storage that is just north of our house. It's that is a nuisance. You know, there will be at 2:30 in the morning, you get woke up with these then moving shipping containers. And when you have to be at the hospital at 5:30 in the morning for a procedure, it's very annoying to be woke up at 2:30 in the morning. So my concern is how does that affect our neighborhood? And we already have a lot of traffic up on 135th since we've added all this other crossway developments. We also have the golf course that's in full swing right now, no pun intended, but it's a very busy area. So, and then you're talking about developing storage units to be for personal use, such as man caves, things like that. How do you mitigate crime and noise from our neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, the applicant. Yeah, for the record, my name is Logan Mills. I am a certified engineering design on high school surveyor. Yes, engineer. And the owner contacted us back in, the night. We first looked at this problem, and done a survey for him. The owner bought it in 1993, and it's currently just a big grove of cedar. So, that's cedar. So, and it's been that way since 93, like I said, since then. In 2018, we did the TF3 zone change. We left a 100-foot buffer in the west end of that property just to provide some sort of space there between the neighboring residential properties. And so, yeah, then we platting it, we actually platted. Church actually on them and bring it back.
Is the 100 feet buffer still going to be there?
Yes.
Project?
Yeah, the 100 zoning map, yeah, the property line is zoning map.
This one or this
Yeah,
one?
no.
Okay.
So this lot is gonna be stay, the west side of that will stay, that's gonna be residential. This lot and this lot have been purchased by the church. Team 3, so they are, they're not under our ownership anymore, the church actually. So it's a really spot, we like the front piece here. And it is, you know, it's off of 135th Street, which is a busy street, and Kellogg down here is the interchange for that. And so his thought is these flex storage spaces would be a good location for them. So that's the purpose of this request. You're right.
We're actually in this.
Did you find where you're located?
Yeah, so our house is. Here. So here's, we come into the neighborhood. And then here's all the cul-de-sacs. Okay.
You may not have gotten to notice because that is is it 300 feet?
I think for this one, it would have been 350 feet.
You probably were just outside of the other side.
So the storage unit is the bottom left, is that correct?
Could you, the storage? I don't know.
Or, sorry, Brooke,
Me.
yeah, I could actually move your thing down to the left, Is this where the storage unit is?
Yeah.
Further west, a little bit further west.
That's the current one. And the proposed one is obviously the one.
Yes.
Yeah, the first step, I'll be. I'm not the department, so I'm just. So I don't call in. So I think the purpose of this discussion is whether or not this is suitable for some sort of.
I have a question about definitions for staff. You said man cave twice. I've never heard that when it comes to storage units. So what is the definition of that versus like, and you know,
Yeah. Put stuff in whatever we're gonna be. But taking them in, they usually have some sort of sanitation as well as bathroom. And they become almost like living spaces or a place where you can gather and watch a game. And things like that. So it's a little bit more, you know, fancier, yes, than a typical storage unit would be. We're seeing a lot of huge uptake in these. So, I think that their idea is to have things like that. Sometimes they condoize them so that the people who use them actually own them. And, but they can also use them for kind of general office use or things like that.
The storage units.
The storage.
So it's an idea of where some of these storage units are, and I'd like to drive by and see.
So I don't know of any that are actually built, but we have seen an uptake in some that have been applied for. On Ridge Road, just south of 96, we got an application for some that are very similar to this. We also received an application about a year and a half ago. I don't know the status of these, if they've been built, but on Broadway, just kind of right there in Midtown. Where they wanted to build some self-service storage uses, but they weren't really being used for how we normally think of self-service storage, but it still falls under that use.
As far as you know, there hasn't been any of them built. There's just uptick.
I can't tell you of any that have actually been, but
There's some in Hoover and
You go to the zoning color, that one.
the last on West Street, Connecticut, within 6,
Are they trying to become pink?
235,
They're going to.
just north of the West Main.
They want to go yellow, or is that what they are? They are yellow.
Is there any other additional comment from public or staff?
Yeah, sorry, I usually don't ask questions, but I'm intrigued, 'cause I've never had the man cave stuff before. Okay, so the yellow is where it is now. The pink is what more I would say industrial uses, that's not probably the correct terminology, but general commercial. Is that what they're trying to become,
yes.
is in line with general commercial?
For these two. Two family, or, you know, appropriate for duplexes, single family houses. To the GC that kind of surrounds them to the south and to the east.
Okay. Thank you.
And that would allow them to have these. And to not have to have supplemental use regulation.
And the church owns the ones right behind that.
That's what I understand, that's without Satan just said, yeah.
That he sold those to the church. And you said, it's getting SF5. The half.
You can see this is.
Oh, it's already zoned.
That's fine. I don't know if this part is actually zone GC, but it says it is, but. As far as I understand, that's SF5.
Do we know how far from the back line of that housing to 100 feet? It's 100 feet.
Yeah, that's little white sliver here.
No, from the actual applicant's area that we're talking about. How far it goes
Under here.
Yeah,
I can pull that up for you. I got one.
Lot. The two are just over 2 acres, so you're talking about. Probably close to 3 or 4 acres.
okay.
Yeah, there's 5 acres of property.
That residential area.
Ma'am, do you have any other questions or comments?
So I can also, well, and I appreciate this. So, yeah. I will say there's a pretty big buffer from there. You know, do that here, but also the compatibility use standards can go up just a little bit in the report. Basically, whenever you have property that is keep going a little bit right there. So whenever you have property that is abutting residential, we have things that are called compatibility standards, and so that means that they can't build too high. They have to kind of come in. If you can, sorry, I just broke, but if you can go back to the aerial map, they will have to come in quite a bit to this from this property line and quite a bit from this property line in order to start building, and they have to keep it at a certain height. So they're not going to be building like 65-foot structures like that on the property. And then also they'll be required to build a screening wall or fence on the north and the west properties along with landscape buffers. So they may just decide to keep some of these trees there or do something else because that's quite a bit of landscape that's already there. But they will have to have both of those things that will also help screen from the TF3 that's next to them, SF5 above.
And there's nothing to dictate what kind of screening wall they need.
Just anything 6 to 8 feet. Could be there's a privacy fence, could be screening masonry wall. Just kind of depends on what they decide.
Comments, from staff. Motion approved on Little's recommendations.
Do you guys have any more comments that you want to speak about too?
I do.
John?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second. All in favor, aye?
I,
Opposed? Here. Opposed?
That's 2 opposed.
Three.
That's 3. Okay, thanks, guys.
And I'll tell you the next steps too, just because we don't often have people come in. So when this one go through APC? Okay, so go through 2 bodies before we city council, through DAB. I'm not a voting member here, District Advisory Board is. Then it goes through MAPC, which is Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. They hear the exact same case. They'll make determinations based on other factors, or they should. And then if it passes both bodies, then it goes to the council on a consent agenda item. If they have a different recommendation from the DAB just did, then it will be heard from the council, and then we will debate it from the bench. So if you want to meet about this separately, and let's say it passes in APC, let me know, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you. That's just the process, so you don't. This is the final authority. There's a couple steps.
And I'll just add that, I forgot your name and address, anybody that speaks at these public hearings, we like inform. So you'll be getting a letter of what the next steps are, so you'll be. Yeah.
No, you should explain.
So state law requires that everybody within. But you know, at the site, the subject site, it's bigger, the notification area programs. So for this site, I believe it's either 300 or 350. But the owners within that perimeter would get notified, my guess is the outside.
Then for staff, new business item number 6, looks like we did not have.
Oh, he's online.
Good to go, right? Thank you, Brett.
You're welcome.
New business number 6, housing and community services. All of these.
Hello, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. I appreciate y'all being accommodating to me. I'm doing the dab hop tonight, so appreciate you letting me join in on Zoom. I'm here tonight again. Sorry, my name is Ryan Tyree. I'm with the Housing and Community Services Department, and I'm here to talk about the 2025-2026 Annual Action Plan. And see, Brooke, if you want to. I can share my screen, Brooke, if you want to. And
Yeah, I got you.
okay, all right, perfect, awesome, thank you. Just some backgrounds information. The city receives an annual allocation of funds for community development activities from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, as y'all have probably know them as. All funding activities align to the city's strategic. Funding activities align to the city's goal of creating a livable and sustainable community. And these funds are used to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and affordable housing. Next. Next, yeah, there we go. Planning documents, consolidated plan and annual action plan. Last year, we came out to all the DABs and talked about our consolidated plan. The CON plan is a 5-year strategic plan. HUD requires us to produce one of those every 5 years, but it's created to identify community development needs, affordable housing and homeless needs, and priorities of the city. Every year we have to do, again, the annual action plan. HUD requires us to submit one of those every year. But the projects and activities that we propose in the action plan, they have to identify to the CON plan. So those two have to work together. We can't propose or conduct any activities or projects that we don't have in the comp plan as set as goals. So those have to, like I said, go hand in hand. These plans serve as applications for funding for the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Home Investment Partnership Program, or HOME, and Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG. CDBG, HOME, and ESG, as I'll be referring to them for the rest of this presentation. CDBG first is very flexible funding grants. We can use it for a wide range of community development needs. Home investment, or HOME, it's all about creating affordable housing for low-income households. And the Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, it's used to specifically address homelessness. Next. So there's a planning process for the annual action plan. This is why I'm here tonight. We have a public comment period that began on March 28th. It runs through May the 5th, but we're here to solicit public comments. And we have to have this action plan submitted to HUD by May 15th, 2025. And it allocates funds for our program year, which runs July 1st through June 30th. So this second year plan will be the funding for July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 26. Next. So in previous years, any prior year funding that we had left over, for example, with CDBG funds, we have 6 years to spend those funds. So when we get an allocation amount annually, we have 6 years to spend that. And so in previous years, you know, we had that funding sitting there as prior year resources for use for when we had projects come up. We could pull from prior year resources to fund those. This year, we're doing a little something a little bit different. We're putting all of our available funding, all prior year resources, we're putting that into this 25-26 program year budget. And basically that's just to ease the burden of tracking and then also meeting certain expenditure deadlines. We're going this route this year. So next. We do not currently have our 25-26 program year allocations. HUD has not released those to us yet. And so for purposes of planning and discussion, we have to just go with our current funding allocations, and those are below. For CDBG for this current program year, we received a little under $3 million. For the home program, 1.7, and for ESG, $255,040. These amounts do not include those prior year resources I was just talking about. So these are just the regular yearly allocations from HUD. We'll start with CDBG. Again, it's used for a wide range of community development needs, economic development, public facilities improvements, housing, and public services are all under the CDBG umbrella of eligible activities. And so if we go to the next slide, we'll see kind of some background on CDBG. In order for an activity to be CDBG eligible, it must meet one of 3 national objectives, and those are there on the screen for you. The funds must be used for eligible spending activities. At least 70% of spending must benefit low to moderate income persons. And here with the city of Wichita, we are traditionally public services activities heavy. Approximately 30% of our annual award goes towards public services. And just for comparison, the national cap for public services is 15%. However, here in the city of Wichita, we are grandfathered in at that 1.1 million annually. So we have a little over 1.1 million to go towards public services activities. Next. We'll start with CDBG infrastructure projects. We are looking to allocate prior year resources in the amount of $379,000 towards infrastructure projects. This can be park improvements, bus shelters, sidewalks, street paving, stormwater, sewage, draining projects. Those could all potentially fall under the infrastructure for CDBG projects. Next. Demolition and clearance. We're looking to allocate $100,000 towards demolition and clearance of blighted structures. We normally have an MOU with MABCD. They handle those blighted structures for us. We have an agreement with them to do that. And so, like I said, we're looking to allocate $100,000 for that. Next. We're looking to allocate a total of $1 million towards the Plainview Community Center. 620, a little over 620,000 of that, it will be Section 108 loans. That kind of goes back to those prior year resources. And then we're looking to allocate 379,000 of regular CDBG, totaling that 1 million mark to go to the community center there to, like I said, support the construction of the Plainview Community Center. Next. We're looking to allocate 1 million of prior year funding to the multi-agency center that will go towards building non-congregant shelter at the MAC site. Next. And there's just a breakdown of those totals there. Next. Housing activities, we're looking to allocate a little 1.2 million. This is our home repair program. You see the breakdown there, 950,000 for project funds and then program delivery. This is for low income eligible homeowners for certain home repair projects that they need on their housing. This can be health and safety, preventive maintenance, those types of repairs to their home. Next. CDBG acquisition, disposition, and rehabilitation. We're looking to allocate a little over 1.4 million of prior year resources towards acquisition and structural rehab. We set aside 387,000 that go towards a to be determined rehab projects. And then we have a group of 12 former public housing units that we're looking to rehab and turn into affordable housing, and 900,000 will go towards that. Next. And there's a breakdown of those totals. Next. HUD allows us to allocate up to 20% of our annual allocation towards CDBG administration. So we're looking to allocate a little under 600,000 towards program management and indirect costs, plus fair housing training as well. Next. And there's that breakdown. Next. I mentioned public services earlier. That $1.1 million we're allocating towards public services activities. We're right at our cap. And so 103,000 of that is going towards Housing First program delivery that pays for our full-time Housing First program staff. 475,000 is going towards subrecipient public services. And you'll see on your screen, we have funding that goes towards 3 different domestic violence shelters. We have youth services represented there and homeless services as well. Those totals are determined by the Grants Review Committee. They convened last spring. They helped determine which subrecipients would be chosen and the allocation amounts for this current program year and next program year as well. It was a 2-year funding allocation for those services. Next. We also have 385,000 that goes towards the Office of Community Services that pays for staff costs of 1 CSR at each of those locations. So 3 total, and then add their administrative assistants as well at Green, Colvin, and Evergreen. And then $200,000 towards the Way to Work program. That is our summer youth employment program. That's where we have kids ages 14 through 17. We help them find employment within the city, and they work throughout the summer. And so we have, like I said, 200,000 going towards that. Next. There's that breakdown. Next. Lastly, with CDBG, we do still have CDBG CV money. That was the money we received in response to COVID. We have just under $595,000 left in that we're looking to allocate towards homeless services. And there's your breakdown below administration and indirect costs, totaling about 100,000, and then rapid rehousing, 108,000. Care coordination teams, a little over 200,000, and then 20 going towards encampment closure supplies, 30,000 towards moving kits, beds, supplies for the homeless, and then HMIS custom reports. HMIS is the database that our homeless service providers use, and so we're looking to put towards 45,000 towards that. Next. Oh, there's that breakdown as well. Next. Next, the home program. Like I said earlier, the home program is used to create or fund affordable housing for low to moderate income households. And again, all funds allocated in previous years, but not under contracts, were swept up for reallocation for this program year coming up. And we have a little over $11 million in home funds that we're looking to allocate this next program year. Next. Again, like with CDBG, it allows us to use a certain percentage towards program administration and indirect charges, and those totals are there on your screen. 30,000 towards home duplex engagements and architectural plans contracts. Home ownership 80, or over 1.3 million. Multi-family rental rehab, we're looking to allocate toward almost 1.6 million to that. Tenant-based rental assistance, 1.7 million, and we do have home ARP funding still, so we're putting that in this budget as well. 4.6 million for development of 25 units for non-congregate shelter and supportive services, and that's at the MAC, the Multi-Agency Center. Next. Housing Development Loan Program and Chodo set aside 1.6 million. These funds are used by profit and for-profit and nonprofit developers. Again, it's for the development of affordable housing, rental and home buyer units, could be rehabilitation or new construction. We are required to set aside 15% of total annual home allocations for local Chodos. The set aside requirement is managed within the HDLP program. Basically, that's to ensure that at least 15% of those funds are going towards Chodos. And HDLP applications, those are reviewed by the Affordable Housing Review Board. They look over all those apps. Next. Just some Chodo requirements, they're on your screen. A couple of the key ones, experience serving the community. The purpose, again, is for the development of affordable housing. Next. And there's your breakdown of the home program funds. And lastly, we're going to move to ESG. This is used to address, again, homelessness. And if you go to the next slide, we can see what all ESG funds can be used towards. That's homeless services, so shelter operations, outreach, those kind of things. Homeless prevention, that can be rent and utility assistance for those that are in immediate danger of becoming homeless. And then rapid rehousing, that provides short-term rent and utility assistance to homeless persons. Next. Homeless prevention, $50,000. Back in the spring, we released an RFP for this funding. Catholic Charities, St. Anthony's Family Shelter was chosen to administer a homeless prevention program, which they did for this current program year. However, they have declined to continue that service for 2025, 26 program year. And so as a department, we then had $50,000 that we needed to allocate towards homeless prevention. And so within our department, we are going to conduct a pilot program. Basically, it's for programs, or it's for individuals that have experienced homelessness in the past and who are at danger or at risk of becoming homeless again. So they would be able to tap into those prevention dollars to, again, prevent re-entering homelessness. $157,115 is going towards staff costs for encampments and unsheltered coordination. Basically, this is in response to the new camping ordinance. Staff will attempt to, go out there, and when you have a camp that's been told to, that they can't stay there, our staff will be looking to go in and connect them with resources so that they can hopefully get in the shelter or even tap into rapid rehousing funding. Basically, it's to help prevent them from just going somewhere else and setting up camp again. So just providing them with resources to tap into. Next. And again, rapid rehousing dollars, 35,105, and that's for rent and utility assistance for those that are literally homeless, and that enables them to move into permanent housing. And just like with the other two grants, there's program administration and indirect charges, and for ESG, that's just under $20,000. Next. There's your breakdown for that ESG program. And next steps, public comment period goes through May the 5th. I got another DAB meeting next week. I think it's just going to be District 6, finishing up DABs tonight for 1, 4, and 5. Public hearing is May 6th at City Council. Hopefully, we'll get council approval on the 6th. And then we have to have it submitted to HUD by May 15th, 2025. Next. It's recommended at this point that the District Advisory Board provide any comments or feedback that you might have. Those comments, I can take those tonight, or you can email those to me at that email address. You can call me as well. My phone number is there on the screen, and we can actually mail me a letter too if you want to. There's my address. If you would like to view the full draft plan of the action plan, it can be found at that link right there. But yeah, at this time, if you have any comments or feedback, I'll be happy to take that.
Staff, as Ryan recommended, seeking some feedback. Ryan, just for myself, appreciate the work you're doing. Seems like a lot of work and seems like it takes a lot of time, so I appreciate that. And trust that you're doing the best you can for the city of Richmond and their citizens. Well, us. That's the feedback I have. Appreciate it.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else, staff?
Alan, do you have anything on the committee?
Being on that board, Mr. Tyree, there's only one thing that I complain about, and that's that community block grant board, which I'm speaking of. I invest a lot of time, and it's the first Thursday of every month that they're on the 10th floor that I go to. I'm not good at Zoom because I'm old, so I show up in person. Okay.
That's all right.
The biggest challenge that we have, it usually lasts about an hour. The IT system in that thing is horrible. Okay. I see you just fine, but I have asked several people about getting that system updated because we spend more time. Mr. Farhall, and then Mr. Farr isn't there. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of issues with that system. And Mr. Sharon Washington has played with it. Everybody's played with it, trying to get it to work, but it just doesn't work properly.
And that was for what meeting was that for? I'm sorry. That's for the
That's a block grant.
the CSBG one.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And if we need to look, I'm sure the council boardroom is probably open at the same time, and they usually don't have tech problems down there. So we need to move it just location wise. I'm sure that we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pass that along for sure. Thank you for telling me that.
I told Sharon before she retired, that I was going to say something if I got in front of somebody, and I just happened to get in front of somebody, and I know she would.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, we should, at this point in our Zoom careers here, we should be able to get that to work. So,
Yeah.
so people can see and hear. So,
Thank you.
Any other comments from staff? Public? All right. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
hey, I appreciate you guys for hanging in there with me. Y'all have a good night. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the Congress, on Mr. Blackstone.
I'll make two brief ones, because I know we had a long meeting. Normally, you start that long. I have had longer ones. I think the first time I was on DAB was like, I think you're here till like. Yeah, I was here till 11 at one point.
Oh, you're fine, I'm sober.
It was a long time. They got the cat one. It might have been the cat one with us too. Might have been that one. I'm gonna recognize Kelly. Kelly serves bicycle advisory board. Jim will be appointed tomorrow, but my new appointee to the access advisory board. So we give shout out to both of them. Actually, three quick things. This past weekend, we had a district floor town hall in Auburn. Last year at the town hall, there's 5 people. This year, Brooke, was there 75?
Yeah.
No. We ran out like just in time. But we tried something new. We sent out a postcard to the neighbors in the area. And it seemed to work out really well. So we're going to try and do that more often. It was probably one of the most engaged crowds that I had seen. So thank you to Brooke for setting it all up. I walked in right at the start and I was like, what is going on? And she's like frictionally putting up tables. I expect there'll be about 10 people. So a lot more. I think it's a success. So we're thinking in the future. We also targeted, we were talking about Maple Street. So they're very invested in the project as well. We're going to try that for other events. I pulled up something a second ago. Talking about the grants real fast. The city of Wichita just sent an email today. Of course, when emails disappear right when it happens. So we in-house the homeless cleanups recently, and they just did a overview. So I won't find the exact email now because it's gone. There was a cleanup in Sims Park where they staffed cleaned up 107 tons, which is honestly incomprehensible. That's like 53 cars of worth of secret encampment back in Sims. Where's Sims Park? Sims Park was on Burnside.
Yes.
I didn't know it's possible.
Ballard's there.
Right now, you say how you internalized it. Did you reallocate ESG funds to supplement them?
I don't know if it was ESG funds. It was what we had allocated towards contracting. So we previously contracted homeless encampments to a third party. We decided to in-house it to be able to do quicker cleanups, where if we contracted it, we gave it up to 2 weeks to clean up the facility. So this one project alone, if we would have contracted it at the rate we contracted previously, would have cost the taxpayers $99,000 to clean up. By in-housing it, we estimate staff time was around 12,000. And so we saw a sizable increase. And then we can also leverage that savings towards actually getting people housed. That we're not just doing it. And when we're doing the cleanups now, we're for the first time keeping possession of like IDs and drugs that or people drugs that have a prescription drug and things of value. And so we were able to still collect that and then just first notes up the 107 tons that were dumped at that point too. And we consider junk like soiled, like clothes, soiled stains, not livable condition material. We're not throwing away a shirt that is wearable. We're throwing away a shirt that's been soiled. So I think that was a positive that I just saw come through our email. And then probably the big thing, the only other big thing I'll have you answer questions. Bob Lane may have seen announced his retirement. It's the first time in 16 years that the city is on the hunt for a new city manager. So tomorrow at City Council, I imagine it'll probably be a lengthy discussion about how do we start the process of getting a new city manager. I always tell the public when it looks messy, more than 3 of us can ever gather in one room by ourselves. And so the first time we can actually all talk about something is from the bench. So yes, government is messy, but it's also because it's transparent and we can talk about it from the bench and talk about ideas. Otherwise, if we were talking about it from the bench and we seem to have a cohesive decision, that probably means we were talking behind the scenes, which is against state law. So we'll begin that process. There'll be conversations about how to reform maybe city government in general. I'm open to everything on the table. I don't honestly have an opinion one way or another. I think there's benefits for a strong mayor system. I think there's detriments for a strong mayor system. I think there's benefits to the system we have now. I also think the system can be reformed. Right now, the mayor is 1 of 7, has no more voter authority than anybody else on the council. Some communities, the mayor has veto authority, some they don't. Sometimes the mayor can have staff. Right now, our mayor has no staff, individual staff that she personally hires. Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri has 14. staff that the mayor has. I don't think we need 14, but they at least have some control of it. So I want to look at it as how do we elevate the influence of the council, not just the mayor, but how does the council have a little bit more influence or something?
And you want more money.
I mean, I think it would come in terms of the council budget. I think, when, for example, when Brooke and I sent out the postcards, we were able to engage 5 people to 7 people. That costs resources. But right now, it's really subjective of how we even request those resources. I just requested a postcard be sent, but I don't know who any of my colleagues are. They probably don't know who I am. And so even if each one of us have our own individual budget that we can manage and be responsible for, I think isn't a bad thing necessarily, because we engage very differently with District 1 and District 3. For example, I only Brooke half time because she has other responsibilities. District 3, District 6, and District 1 all have one full-time person. I only have Brooke half time. And then District 2 and District 5 share a person.
Why is it that the others all get a full-time and you don't?
It has to do with the logic. I historically know all the populations is saying that they're the 3 most low income districts. And so some of their staff is funded from a federal grant.
Okay.
And so that's why the funding for Brooke is different than their program, and the funding for Teresa BC, who oversees District 2 and 5, is different. So it has to do with the funding stream for it. But I also think it disproportionately helps District 3, 6, and 1, and then leaves out District 4, District 5, and 2. They have different challenges.
But I mean, if they're more low income, obviously they're gonna have more people coming with more needs, so they would require a full-time person.
Yeah.
Getting their federally supplemented.
As long as it's not taxpayer money that's benefiting districts over another than local taxpayer money. That's the key.
Obviously, that.
Yeah, mine's right at the limit of it. So Brooke does have we get a lot of cases probably compared to 2 to 5. 2 to 5 was much. We get a lot. But then they also have neighborhood resource centers. We don't have a neighborhood resource center. And so there's some. Yeah, I just think we should have a conversation how we form city.
Alan has a comment.
Okay, any questions? Yes.
Yeah, we talked a lot about down south, this, Proctor or football fields or soccer field.
Yeah.
And we were gonna spend $3 million.
6 million, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen what the Northwest Y has done south of 21st Street. But they worked on it all last summer. They got a beautiful parking lot and all kinds of soccer fields across the street from the Y. And I would think it would be beneficial to the city that it assists the Y and do some of these things instead of city pouring all this money.
Why has it? Why owns it? It's paid. But
Well, we do have some of our not these funds in particular, but some do go to the YMCA to help with some like afterward programs. But we're at South Lakes, I think the location you're talking about.
Yeah.
We opened an RFP, went out. We had 1 applicant for it, and they are at no cost to taxpayers, minus us mowing, which we do already. They're gonna be building a rugby facility on the quarter.
Yeah, well, I'm aware of that. I'm just fine. They're gonna run. But it's not our taxpayers' dollars.
I agree. Any other questions?
another thing.
Okay, yeah.
When are we expecting to have the water treatment?
This fall. I don't have the exact date. They're testing. Yeah, they're testing the water right now. It was delayed testing because of the drought. So they've been a little bit slower, but it's supposed to be this fall.
And what is the attitude from?
So we get the keys, I think, in April, and they'll actually turn over to our facility. But I'm told it won't be operational. I'll verify that.
Is it an engineering standpoint? Is it a security standpoint? Why are we postponing this?
I think it's just the water testing based on the drought. It's the facility's completed. That's not the problem. I think it's just the testing staying a little on.
Dalton.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry. Go ahead. I'll let whoever was talking finish.
No. Go ahead.
I wanted to thank you for your not supporting the Trans Day nonsense. And I also wanted to thank you for voting against taking away property rights with the Crown Uptown. That's egregious. It's theft. And if I were the owner of the Crown Uptown, I'd be suing the city for what the city's doing to him. So I just wanted to thank you for doing the right thing on both of those issues.
Well, I'll answer both those real brief ones. I know we've waited a long time, so might be disagreements. First off, Crown Uptown, I stand by my vote up there. I believe in property rights. I believe Devin has the ability to do what he wants. Regarding the proclamation, I just heard the proclamation process in general. I said that from the bench. Right now, we vote in secret via email. It's not public by any means. So I think we need to reform the process. I didn't vote in opposition to it. I didn't vote on the proclamation. We received the proclamation right before the American Airlines crash. A lot of the proclamations receive 4 votes. They don't go to the vote of the full body once they get 4 votes. I responded to staff and specifically asked questions about the proclamation because I wanted to make some minor edits to it, or make some edits to it. I don't say they're minor, but make edits to it. And by that time, staff had received 4 votes. They didn't respond back to me because it already passed. And so it just goes forward automatically. So that's the process behind the scenes. I think it was misconstrued in the media in a lot of different ways. But it wasn't I just had concerns about some parts of the language that was used. Did vote in opposition, but I wouldn't have supported the language as is that was presented. So.
Don't they have to go into executive session before you can kind of discuss anything without the public being there?
Correct.
You weren't in the photo either.
Well, I wasn't invited down. I was invited to vote. So I wasn't invited. But I have a problem with our votes being via email because, like you said, that's, I think, a violation of Kansas Open Meetings Act. Because the public has to request.
It's still important, isn't it?
It is. You can core it and you get paid for it. So. Okay. Anything else? I know I kept you long.
Municipal idea.
As soon as we get the equipment for it.
And then on top of that, what jurisdiction? State jurisdiction or you call the city ones? What's the difference? Well, because the city with the DMV, they have their own set of laws that they have as handed down by legislator, whereas the city, from my readings, this is just plain ordinance. You're not following any.
Ours is, it is not a state ID. So we don't meet the stipulations for the state ID on the ID. It'll say not a state ID. And it also added another line to say not valid. And so we had a 2 different.
For federal use though, because some people will try to use it. I need passports. Some people will try to do it. I work with veterans.
Yeah, it's not considered a state ID. It won't.
Sadly,
Yeah,
it does qualify as an I-9 though, which.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't qualify. You have to. It can be a component on I-9. Section B, but you also have to have Section C, and Section C proves your residency, and that you're legally allowed to lawfully work in the U.S. So there's a verification somewhere else. B just proves who you are. C will prove that you actually have ability to work.
And on top of that, you are gonna have veteran steps on your parts, correct?
Why should it be on here? Is it on the regular ID?
It is on a DMV issue. No, it's a state. Actually, it's outside issue. So
I will check. I don't know something.
according to my readings, yes, position of other.
So yes.
Yes, so with that being said, what kind of regulations are we gonna have for homeless that are not able to obtain ED2 or military ID, or that can tech cards or anything like that?
In terms of verification of their veterans, I would imagine we have to have that. I'll ask that question, but I imagine there have to be some you can't just walk in and say you're a veteran and then get it on. There'll be some verification.
You have to do work.
Yeah.
And it's.
In that or DOD and or tech work.
I will look at that and make sure that that's trained, but that our staff's trained.
For a driver's license, you have to request it. 50 years. Till I get my 214 down there. And showed them that I served and they added to my driver's license.
That wasn't a huge topic, so I will figure out that.
I work directly with it, that's the only reason.
It is, no, I'll figure that out, because that wasn't, when we talked about it, I know it was probably in it, but that wasn't like a topic that looked about it.
And if there's any resource that me and use, whether it's me with registered agent's office, whether it's Howard Hutchinson with even CSC, or even the VA.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, thank you. They're British.
With that, I'll go ahead and call April's staff meeting adjournment. And can I get a second? All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Where's that? Yep. We're thankful that I'm volunteered to clean up.
Miss Brooke, thank you very much.
And